Hello and welcome back to Bookish Theories. In today's video, we'd like to talk about R.M. Still Life, focusing on a little breakdown and analysis of the lyrics and the music video to see what they can tell us about the concept and message of the song. Still Life is a collaboration with Paak, co-written and co-composed by R.M. himself. This is a song that expresses his desire to move forward despite blooming again like a flower who is still and seemingly inactive. Now, much like Namjoon himself has stated, in terms of style, Still Life is almost the direct opposite of Wildflower. One is upbeat, light-hearted and fun, while the other is more heartfelt, emotional and serious. Despite the stylistic difference, however, Still Life continues the metaphor introduced in Wildflower, and as we'll see in a second, to a certain extent it elaborates on it even further. Back in that song, Namjoon expressed his wish to rest in a field like a wildflower with no name. The emotional lyrics describe this personal struggle with fame and his wish to let go of that explosive lifestyle in exchange for a simpler and more genuine life. With Still Life, this imagery comes back in full force, but the song also clarifies that him being a flower, that is, a literal example of a life that stays still, doesn't hinder his intention to keep on moving and creating. If in Wildflower him being nameless could be understood as him wishing to live an anonymous life like the countless flowers in a field, now he explains that he is nameless because in this new stage of his life he is actually still untitled. He's an evolving work of art who doesn't want to be confined in a frame because he's constantly moving and always changing. Because of that, the still life that he's talking about is not so much a still life understood in the artistic sense. It's not motionless, lifeless and never changing, but rather quite the opposite. After everything that he endured, his life is still life in the sense that it is still alive. It moved until now, and it will keep on moving in the future as well. This is a far more optimistic view of this new chapter of his career, because despite all the uncertainties to overcome, these lyrics still convey the idea that the best is quite literally yet to come. Even if the past is gone and the future is unknown, even if right now he's at a crossroads catching his breath and figuring out his next step, he's unfazed by the shadows that the past and the future cast on him because he's living in the moment and his life keeps moving every second. Like he says in the lyrics, right now every day is his day one. He's always beginning a new path. He's choosing life because it's much better than death and he wants to prove that to you, but this time on his own terms. Like he explained in Wildflower, instead of exploding like a firework who is loud, bright, but also short-lived, he chooses to light up like a flower work and shine bright while still honoring his true nature. In a similar way, Still Life explains that just because he's blooming again like a flower, this apparent stillness not only doesn't affect his creative evolution, but quite literally encourages it. Since now he can finally live like he wants, and now more than ever he has the freedom to move in whichever direction is his fit. He is not in a rush to figure out what to do, what to produce, or even who to be next, because he knows that everything will evolve as life goes on. This is a carefreeness that he earned after years of hard work. In the song, he's literally buying time with the money that he made, and as he does so, it tells us not to listen to the haters and the fools because those people don't know what they're talking about. These are individuals who are ready to put their life on the line for a bit of clout online, so listening to their nonsense doesn't bring anything good. While they wish for his downfall, Namjoon is living the life that they would like for themselves. In the song, he actually mentions 91 Hanam Boulevard, which is a reference to a real-life location that is known for its expensive apartments and celebrity tenants. 91 Hanam is a complex that is almost the Korean Beverly Hills, if you will. BTS and a lot of other celebrities are known to live there, and if you look online, you will see that not many people can actually afford that kind of accommodation. It's so exclusive, in fact, that Namjoon points out that he doesn't need to go to Gangnam anymore because he's already living in the Royal Road while being born only in '94. In turn, his haters flex even if their rent is due, so Namjoon shuts them up and lives like a wildflower the way he always wanted. Now in the video, his interpretation of Still Life is visually expressed in a very clever way, which, speaking of Namjoon, is actually no surprise at all. For one, the video is set on a train, which is a location that in and of itself perfectly conveys the concept of still life as intended in the song. Just like Namjoon is still moving, in the sense that he's both still and still moving. When you travel on a train, you look still, but you're actually traveling very fast. This is a contrast that already depicts the concept very well, but the video doesn't stop there because it actually shows us yet another example of still still life instead of the one that I just gave you. In the video, we see that Namjoon enters the carriage and goes to his seat. As he opens his indigo notebook, which as we know is the account of his 20s, time suddenly stops and he's the only one moving. When he starts interacting with his surroundings, the structure of reality slowly disintegrates until there is nothing left. The first to go are the passengers, then the seats, and finally the train itself, which breaks down into pieces and begins to dance around him in a white void. In the behind the scenes, Namjoon actually compared this process to the movie Inception, and this reference is actually quite fitting because, spoiler alert, what is taking place is actually happening inside of his imagination. As his mind wanders during his creative process, his body is motionless in the carriage. His mind is alive, but his body is still. So in a sense, still life can also be seen as a metaphor for the unstopping still life that allows him to create his art. In the video, we see that his creative process is momentarily interrupted by a member of the crew dropping a cup of water. This little accident stops the movement of his brain, but this interruption is only temporary because as soon as he's left alone, his reflection stands up again to keep moving like before. In this context, the reflection obviously shows us the inner Namjoon wandering in his imagination. Even if his physical body remains motionless, his mind is dancing, and it's precisely this dynamism that eventually grants us the music that he produces. By the end of the video, we see Namjoon in real life starting to write on his indigo notebook. This is an indication that the never-ending movement of his mind inspired him to record the account of his 20s that indigo ended up being. The result of his still life is what we can listen today, and now that he finally understood the life that he wants, we can definitely expect this flower to move more than ever. To see the results of this movement, we'll have to wait and see, but in the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please think about liking and subscribing. As always, thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.